corrective action, preventive action. Okay. Now, usually, whenever there is an incident which happens, okay, there are three things that have to be done after you've done an RCA. One is an immediate action, which is also called as a correction. Okay, whatever has happened. Okay. The next is the corrective action, where you're going to take action to eliminate the error that has caused that particular problem. And then comes a preventive action. Okay, where you take an action to prevent the error from ever occurring. Okay, the delineation or the differentiation between corrective action and preventive action in some incidents or some instances will be a little blurred. So it may be one activity or one action that you carry out which would serve as a kappa and as a corrective action and a preventive action. Okay, so but basically remember these basic things. Now let's get to the example. A healthcare worker has got a needle stick injury during recapping after giving an intramuscular injection to a patient. What is the first line of action to be done? गाली दे दो. किसने बोला रिकैपिंग करने हैं? बराबर होता है कि नहीं? दोनों हाथ यूज किया कि सिंगल हैंड किया? सेकंड क्वेश्चन. बराबर? झापा उसको, भेज दिया, एंड ऑफ स्टोरी? No. So what do you like to do? Now here you need to do your immediate action. So what is the immediate action? Okay. Wash the affected part. Okay. With soap and water usually. Okay. You don't need anything fancy. No antimicrobial solutions required. Report to your emergency department or whichever SPOC for further follow-up of the needle stick injury. That's a different protocol. We'll not get into it today. Okay. One important thing we usually miss out in this. नीडल जहाँ लगा था उसको बराबर डिस्पोज किया कि नहीं? बराबर? ड्रॉर में था, क्लीन कर रहा था, लग गया, भाग गए नीचे और दूसरे को बोला अरे वो क्लीन कर रहा था तुम क्लीन करो. वो अंदर जाते उसको भी लग जाता है. Okay? So correction should be discarding that needle if it has been found at an inappropriate place, or if it's happened during the procedure, please ensure to dispose it off and then do whatever you have. Okay? So that's a panel thing. So here this becomes your correction or your immediate action. Okay?
Yes.
Now what the RCA will do is, how did the incident actually happen? Now usually nobody will ask the healthcare worker recap क्यों किया? शार्प्स डिस्पोजल कैन लेके नहीं गए थे, टेबल नहीं था वहां पे, कैप नीचे रख के उसको पिकअप करने के लिए. सो ऑल दीज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स यू नीड टू आस्क. एक्चुअली क्या कर रहे थे, दिखाओ मुझे कैसे किया. गिव हिम अ पेन, आस्क हिम टू शो. ओके. So what went wrong and where? This is something that you have to identify. Now in this whole process, you need to figure out whether you can identify either one or two things, or maybe sometimes more if you're just starting out, that are the root cause of why that particular needle stick injury happened. Okay. Once identified, you need to correct it. Okay, it's as simple as that. Now there are two systems which are usually followed to investigate any incident. Usually in NSI, we tend to use these two systems. Okay, and if you have heard of this, the 5 Why system. There was this Hindi movie, I don't remember the name. Paresh Rawal, anyone? He had a big question mark on his forehead.
Yes, sir.
He used to ask questions. Kyun? Ye kyun? Ye kyun? Yeah, what? I won't ask details of that. So here the idea is to ask why 5 times to get to the root of the problem. Now why 5? Why not 6? Why not 4? I have no answer. This is just research, or some smart person somewhere said that 5 mein mil jata hai answer. Okay. So usually when you ask why did you recap, he'll say something because of this. You ask the next question. Why did you do this? Because of that. Why did you do that? So you go on asking till you find out that okay, this is the reason why the needle stick injury has occurred. Now to reach that point, you may need 4 whys, you may need 6 whys. Okay, but generally you need to keep asking why till you reach the root cause of that problem. Okay. So let's get back to our example. Why did the healthcare worker recap the needle? Okay, our first question. Because she did not carry a tray with a sharps disposal can. Do we stop here? ठीक है ना, we got a reason ना, ट्रे नहीं लेके गए, अगली बार ट्रे लेके जाओ, बात खत्म. Usually we would stop at this, right? Let's go a little deeper. Why did the healthcare worker not carry a tray? Okay. Answer is, she did not know that she had to carry it. किसी ने बोला ही नहीं, बरसों से हम ऐसे ही करते आए हैं, बराबर? Stop here.
Yes, we can stop.
Why did the healthcare worker not know? Okay, she was not trained on it. नर्स एजुकेटर किधर है, ICN किधर है, क्या कर रहे हैं लोग, बराबर? Why was the healthcare worker not trained? So now slowly, do you see what is happening? From blaming that healthcare worker, we've shifted to ICN and nurse educator. ठीक है? Because there is no induction or departmental training. Okay? Now, why is there no induction training or why no departmental training? बराबर? Because the HR or the nursing team has not planned for it. Now suddenly from the healthcare worker to your ICN nurse educator, it is shifted to HR and nursing it, sorry. Now again, remember what I told you in the beginning, this is not to blame anyone. Okay? So here the root cause is that a proper training schedule has not been put up. So your correction is put up a proper training schedule, ensure all the nurses or healthcare workers go through an induction training, they have a departmental training, and then so on. Okay? So here from a simple japping of that person who's got the needle stick injury to developing a program for training. This is where your 5 whys have got you. Okay? Important, not important?
Important, sir.
Awake, not awake?
Awake.
Why? So now, you can get many action items that arise from this kind of an exercise. I've just taken one small example. Okay? A tray with sharps disposal can be carried, or sorry, not can to be carried, sorry, apologies for that, while giving an injection. Okay? Induction training to be done. Departmental training to be done. Now, whenever there is some activity or any intervention that you'll do, you'll have to audit or have a check back system on whether that is functioning or it is optimum or not. Okay. Now, in a hall this big, okay, if I ask people to come in and attend a training session, मुझे 100% attendance चाहिए. So, the capacity is what? About 200. So, we have 200 nurses coming here after their duty. I go through the training session. All of them attend, ask them, are you awake? Everybody raises their hand, and then they go, right? Do I have a post-training evaluation to check whether they have actually understood what I said? Okay, so this is another aspect of quality or training that comes in, which we won't get into today. So an audit and a feedback is necessary. Okay, someone has not understood. What is the thing? Retraining. फिर से जाके auditorium में बैठ. Why has that person not understood? Is there a language barrier? So again, we're coming to why. Okay, so this kind of a system needs to be set up, and then of course you have periodic training on the same. Okay, another. So this is the 5 why. Okay, everyone clear with this? Good.
Yes.
The second thing which I wanted to discuss is something called as the fishbone. Any of you have heard of this?
Yes.
Okay, non-fish eaters have heard of this? Okay. This is also called as the Ishikawa chart or a cause and
Ishikawa
effect diagram.
chart.
Okay. All of us have seen this fishbone. This is what it looks like. Okay. So basically the idea is to start with the effect and work towards identifying the possible causes. Okay. There are many terminologies that are used, an 8M or a 6M or a 5P or a 4S or whatever it is, but basically what it does is this. So you have, am I audible?
Yes.
So you have the problem here at the head of the fish.
Okay.
Then you draw a straight line which becomes the spine of the fish. Okay. And then you try to identify whatever causes might come up and put them under these headings. Okay. So you put one bone here, then say man or personnel related. Man or personal related. Okay. Then you can have something like materials. Okay. Now this is something which is more from a production kind of a thing. So you can omit certain things which may not be applicable to you. Then you have measurement, maintenance, mother nature. Okay, they called it mother nature because they wanted an M there. It's easier to remember, no? 8 M's or 6 M's. Management, methods, and machine. Now for us, machine and all may not really be very valid. So you can cut out ones that don't work for you. Okay. Now, this is a brief NSI thing that I just made up. Now, if you're looking at NSI in man, or we say now healthcare worker. Okay, what are you going to identify? Whether that person has been trained, okay? Whether that person is experienced enough. Was that the first time that person was giving an intramuscular injection? Was he nervous? Oh, sorry, was she nervous? Okay? Awareness. How alert or alertness? How alert was that person? Had she done a night duty and there was no staff, so she was asked to continue further? So all these factors you will identify under man or personnel. Okay, so like the 3P, 4Ps that I was telling you could be personnel instead of man. But basically, I hope you're getting the concept. It's more important for you all to understand the concept. Okay, names, numbers, all those doesn't matter. Material. Could a safety device have been used? Maybe in this case, yes or no, depending on whether you want to spend that much extra. Okay. Was a disposal can, sharps disposal can available there? So now this is under material. Okay, so you all can, now you may realize that these points are probably got by one person. If I ask all of you all for your inputs, I'll probably come out with another 10 points. Okay? So this has to be a team or a group of people who are going to actually work on this thing. Okay? So now you have things like the environment. Was the lighting proper? Could he see that he was recapping or whatever? So you can go on and so forth. Okay? All of you are comfortable with this?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's just look at how these two things, I've told you are two tools, 5Y and fishbone chart, correct?
Yes,
How are they
sir.
related? Now in our Y, we've got an NSI where the healthcare worker did not know, therefore he had to be trained and a training program was set up. Okay. Now supposing his first answer was that a tray was not available. Would you have gone along a different line? Would you have gone along a different trend? You would have come to saying that a tray has to be made available. Training would not have at all entered the picture. Correct? Supposing they would have said it was a child who was crying and miserable, and in that excitement I pricked myself. Would you even have looked at training or a tray availability, accessibility? So in your 5Y, you would have missed out on the other two things if one of them was identified as the cause. But all these three things could have been picked up in a fishbone. Correct? You with me?
Yes.
And awake?
Yes.
So when you have a good system which is being set up, you can go in for the 5Y. If you don't have a system, it is better to do a fishbone. This is my interpretation. If I'm right, anyone can correct me. Fishbone always helps when there are multiple people who are involved in that exercise, because each person comes out with one particular suggestion which the others may not have thought of. Okay? Alright, so now this is moving on with the example of a tray being identified as the cause. Where is a tray with all the necessary items ready in the ward? You say yes, it was there, उसने use नहीं किया. Is it accessible to that healthcare worker? अरे इंजेक्शन देना है, 10 बजे का टाइम था, 11 बजे भागो भागो, ट्रेन नहीं दिख रहा है, भाग गए. So it is available in the ward, but it is not accessible to that healthcare worker. Okay? So again, this is going to come out when you keep asking why. Okay? Does the healthcare worker know how to use that tray? डब्बा कुछ तो था, मुझे पता नहीं था, उसके अंदर ही डालना है. Okay? So again, all this will come out from your why. So if you notice, each of them has their own advantages, disadvantages. Put both of them together and you can then get a comprehensive solution. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Competence check and retrainings, of course, is important. So basic take-home message is that, one, analyze your incidents. Now here I have taken an example of a needle stick injury. Okay? You can use the same thing for any of your healthcare associated infections as well. COTI, CLAPSI, VAP. Why did the patient develop VAP? Was the bundle followed? Bundle was not followed. Why it was not followed? And so on. Okay? Or a fishbone. Was the bed angled at 45 degrees? Was a daily mouthwash given? Blah blah blah. So check each and every system and you'll get to finding something which is important for you. Okay? Try and include experts from the area. Okay? You're doing an investigation for a COTI of a patient in the ICU without involving the sister in charge of the ICU. Doesn't make sense. Okay? You need to get the ground realities. Many times ground realities are totally different. So these discussions cannot, or these conclusions cannot be drawn sitting in your cabin, or which I also usually do most of the times. or in a small room, you need to go out and see what is happening, and that is where the role of the infection control nurse comes in, extremely important. So for any microbiologist, it's practically impossible for us to know as much practically as the ICNs know. Therefore, an ICN has to be in on the team. Okay. Educatively, maybe the microbiologist or the infection control officer knows more, so he has to be in on the team. The in charge of that ward knows exactly where the pain points are, so she also has to be on the team. So you need to have multiple people. Okay, basic bottom line. Eventually, use any of the tools that you like, but get to a conclusion or a root cause, and eventually, most important thing, why are we doing all this? So that you can take action. Okay. Otherwise, this exercise is pointless. It just becomes a document that you show the NABH assessor and get a shabasi on that. So finally, I'd just like to conclude by saying to err is human. We all make mistakes, but to cover up is unforgivable, and to fail to learn from our mistakes is something that is inexcusable. How many awake? Chalo, okay, pass ho gaya.